welcome to Vanished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a case for you today that's fairly recent, still unsolved, and needs some eyes on it.
Let's hear about it.
All right. It was Memorial Day weekend of 2018 in Muskogee, Oklahoma. 51-year-old Kristyn Krash, as her friends and family called her, Richerson.
How did she get that name?
She was a drummer.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of her music nickname.
Okay.
She was buzzing with excitement that weekend. Her red Toyota pickup truck sat packed to the brim with camping gear and decorations ready for Rocklahoma. Rocklahoma. Have you...
I've heard of it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Never been. Not really my scene, but I've definitely heard of it.
Excellent. If you've not heard of it, it's a 3-day rock music festival that Kristyn loved. She loved all things music through and through. She was a drummer who never missed a chance to see her favorite bands live. That spring, her favorite band, Hailstorm, was on the lineup, and Kristyn could hardly wait. But she never made it to the festival. She left home on May 25th, 2018, supposedly headed to Rocklahoma, and vanished without a trace. What makes her story especially haunting is that the last people to see her were not strangers, but her friends, roommates she had taken into her home out of kindness. Those same people gave puzzling, conflicting accounts about her disappearance. Years have passed, and Kristyn's friends and family are still searching for answers and justice.
Okay, so was she going alone to Rocklahoma, or were the roommates going with her?
2 male roommates that were going with her.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they were driving together or caravanning, but they were all headed to the same.
Yeah, so a Toyota. Yeah, how many seats did her Toyota pickup? Do we know?
I'm not sure if it was the 3-seater, but it did have the covering thing on the back.
Yeah, the camper.
Yeah.
That's what you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still couldn't sit back there. That's what I'm like, is it a passenger truck or is it just the 3?
I get the feeling that it was smaller.
Captain, that's just across the front. I immediately assumed smaller when I heard Toyota, but then I'm like, wait, no, they make bigger ones too.
Yeah. I think hers was on the smaller side though.
I'm going to just be obvious that, okay, probably because she's a girl, it's smaller, but you just never know.
Never know.
Especially in Oklahoma, you never know.
Totally. Kristyn was, by all accounts, a vivacious and warm-hearted person. At 51 years old, she had the energy and enthusiasm of someone decades younger. Friends and family affectionately called her Krash, a nickname whose exact origin is a bit of a mystery, but it did capture her spirited personality. Kristyn was the life of the party, the kind of person who would crank up rock music and drum along with a smile on her face. She was a talented drummer, a skill that won her admiration among friends. Her close friend, Lynn, recalls how much Kristyn loved music and loved performing.
Was she in a band locally?
I'm not sure if she had like a full band or if she drummed between
wherever
other bands if they needed somebody. Music was truly a driving force in Kristyn's life. She not only played music, but lived it. She adored rock bands, old and new, so much so that she had a large tattoo portrait of rock legend Stevie Nicks on her right calf.
What a great tattoo.
Great tattoo. Kristyn often sported a rock and roll style too. At the time she went missing, she had brown hair cut short into this spiky faux hawk and would sometimes wear a bandana on her head. Friends say she had a free spirit, generous heart. If you needed help, Kristyn would be there. She was the type of person who went out of her way to help others. Her caring nature extended to animals and, of course, family. She was especially devoted to her dog, a little brown dog named Buddy. Her family and friends say that Buddy was like a child to her, always by her side. She was known to cherish mementos of her late mother, and in fact, she kept her mother's ashes at home in a special urn. Kristyn had told close friends that if anything ever happened to her, she wanted her own ashes to be placed with her mom's, together in the same urn. This was the forward-thinking, sentimental promise one might casually share with a best friend, and it was a promise that her friend Lynn never forgot. She said, quote, "If she died first, she wanted her ashes to be put in the same urn as her mother's. I made her that promise, and I want to do that." Kristyn's loved ones paint a picture of a woman who was outgoing, kind, and trusting, but perhaps too trusting. She had a wide circle of friends and was known for welcoming people into her life and even her home if they needed a place to stay. This kindness, sadly, may have been a factor in her disappearance. Her friend Lynn said, "To be honest, I believe her kindness killed her. She gave somebody a place to live till he got back on his feet, and I believe that's what did her in."
That's very specific.
It is. And chilling, because they foreshadow these dark suspicions surrounding the people who last saw Kristyn alive, her roommates. So like we mentioned, in 2018, Kristyn was living in Muskogee, Oklahoma, in a modest home on Houston Street. Muskogee is a small city where everyone tends to know each other, and Kristyn had deep roots in the community. She was Native American, and her disappearance would later draw the attention of organizations focused on missing Indigenous women. But back in May of 2018, Kristyn was just looking forward to this fun Memorial Day weekend rock concert. She had 2 male roommates living with her at the time, Carl and Cody, acquaintances that she was helping out. All Kristyn saw were friends with whom she shared her home and hospitality. So she has her truck packed and her festival ticket ready. Kristyn was set for an adventure. Little did anyone know that the real adventure and nightmare was about to begin. Let's walk through the days and what we know leading up to her disappearance. She was super excited to head to Rocklahoma, a big outdoor rock music festival held annually in Pryor, Oklahoma, about an hour and a half away from Muskogee. Rocklahoma is a multi-day event that draws rock fans from all over the region. It's this rowdy celebration of music, camping, and camaraderie. That year's lineup included bands like Godsmack Ghost, Stone Temple Pilots, Poison, Cheap Trick, and of course, Hailstorm, which was Kristyn's favorite. It was exactly the kind of scene that Kristyn loved. In the days leading up to Memorial Day weekend, she had made enthusiastic preparations for the trip. She decorated the bed of her truck specifically for the festival. Her friend Lynn later showed a piece of Kristyn's truck bed that had been painted and adorned, a tangible reminder of just how excited Kristyn had been. Kristyn had arranged to borrow some camping supplies from a family friend, a tent, and a sleeping bag for the festival. She called that friend and said she'd swing by to pick up the gear before heading out to Rocklahoma. She had done all the planning. She was methodical. She wasn't just planning to leave without telling anyone. She was planning to borrow this and promised that she would bring it back as soon as she came home from the festival. However, Kristyn never arrived to pick up the tent and the sleeping bag.
So how close was this friend?
I believe it was in the same city, but like on her way out of town.
20-minute drive?
Or less.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The friend that she had called waited, but Kristyn didn't show up. And as the friend is calling to say, "Hey, are you stopping by still?" that friend never got a call back. And they say this wasn't like Kristyn at all. But at this point, now we're on May 25th, 2018, no one was panicking. People probably assumed that she got busy or had a change of plans. Maybe somebody else had loaned her the sleeping bag and tent, and she would call when she got home. Kristyn was an adult after all, and it wouldn't be unusual for someone to run late or just head directly to the event. What we do know is that on Friday, May 25th, was the day that she intended to leave for Rocklahoma. It was also the last day anyone saw or heard from her. At her home that day, presumably, Kristyn was doing last-minute packing. Perhaps Buddy, her loved dog, was underfoot as she loaded coolers, supplies in her truck. Her roommates, Carl and Cody, were around as well. At some point on May 25th, Kristyn disappeared. The timeline of that evening is murky, and it's based on conflicting accounts from those same roommates. So we don't know if she did actually drive off in her own truck. We can't tell from their accounts if she maybe had left with someone else, maybe for some reason decided not to take her own, but that seems unlikely. And this is where stories diverge and suspicions begin to creep in. According to one version of events, the version that Kristyn's roommate Carl would later tell police, he says that Kristyn did actually make it to Rocklahoma on May 25th. Carl claimed that he and Kristyn drove out to the music festival together that day as planned. They supposedly spent time at Rocklahoma, but then Carl says that Kristyn met an unknown woman at the festival and decided to leave with that woman. In Carl's story, this mysterious female stranger was the last person to see Kristyn. He implied that Kristyn voluntarily took off with this person, and that's why she never came back home with him.
So was Kristyn like men or women?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't believe she was ever married.
Means nothing.
I know.
And no children?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So it's just, you generally don't hear about women taking off with women unless it's a romantic interest.
Right.
And that would make more sense, which makes me think now the roommates are upset that maybe she's not interested in them because she's interested in women.
Possibly.
But I'm surmising.
I will say, I don't know if we can believe anything that Carl or Cody say.
I think it's very telling that she's making all these preparations, calls the friend, hey, I'm coming to pick up, which means you have an inkling of when you're going to be leaving, so you can give them an approximate time you're going to be showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're calling you because they either want to go themselves or have other plans. And they're like, look, I need to go.
Yeah, I don't believe that friend was going to the music festival.
Okay.
But still,
You're
other things on Memorial Day.
Hey, I'm like 2 seconds from walking out the door. I'll be at your house in 20 minutes to collect the tent and the whatever.
Yeah. If Carl's story sounds far-fetched, it's because it is. Investigators quickly poked holes in his version of accounts. For one, and this is a big one, cell phone records later showed that Kristyn's phone never left the Muskogee area on May 25th.
And there you go.
There you go. It never pinged near Pryor or the festival grounds at all. In other words, there was no technical evidence that Kristyn ever traveled to Rocklahoma. Secondly, no independent witnesses recall seeing Kristyn at the festival that weekend. The only person that puts her there is Carl.
Yeah, and if this isn't an annual event that she loves to attend, she's going to have friends there.
Yes.
So people are going to remember seeing, and then not just because she's distinctive, but because they know this is her thing.
Yes, exactly.
Like you said, she painted her truck in honor of a festival. That's dedication.
It is.
I can see decorating your truck, but painting it is
next
that
level.
Shows true fandom. And so you're going to be running into the same people who travel to these festivals. You're going to be like texting with, hey, are you going? I'm going to be there. I'm going to see you. It's probably people you sometimes only see at this festival. That's what's going to be memorable.
Yes. And she's also big in the music scene in her area.
Right.
So you would think there are other friends that she has that go to the festival.
She's not going by herself per se. She's meeting up with people that she sees there every year she goes.
Yep, exactly. And no one can recall seeing Kristyn at the festival that weekend.
Yeah, see, now that's odd.
Right. Rocklahoma is crowded, but like we said, Kristyn knows those people. She's been there before.
Yeah, I ran into people I knew at Pride. I've run into people I knew at No King's Day. And not where I knew they were going to be there. You literally run into them there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep. None of Kristyn's friends at the festival saw her. No one came forward to say that they'd seen Krash rocking out to Hailstorm that night.
The one band that everybody knew she was going to be at.
The one she was looking forward to the most. Say her plans changed last minute for some unknown reason. out of all the days, that's the one she wanted to be there for. Now, that brings us to the other version of events, a story that Kristyn's family heard from the roommates in the immediate aftermath. So Kristyn's older sister, Robin, remembers the day she realized something was wrong. Robin's son, so Kristyn's nephew, had dropped by Kristyn's house to see his aunt, and she wasn't there. Sensing something off, he went to tell his mom. Robin talked about how her son came up to where she worked and told her that he had went by Kristyn's house and she wasn't there. Robin thought that was odd, so she went on her lunch break to go check on Kristyn. She drives over to Kristyn's house, expecting to find that maybe she's busy doing whatever and maybe hadn't heard the door, but instead she's met by an empty house and 2 roommates who seem oddly nonchalant. Robin confronted Kristyn's roommates, pressing them about where her sister was, and she heard a completely different story from them.
So did the nephew see the roommates when he stopped by, or did no one answer?
I'm not sure. The reporting said to find that she wasn't there. I think the roommates were there and just said, hey, she's not here. But then when Robin's going to check, it seems
is this
like
when she's still expected to be going to the festival, or is this from her coming back from the festival?
she should be back
Okay.
from the festival. They told Robin that Kristyn wasn't there. They said she left with some woman from Veneta to go to Colorado, which is another Oklahoma town. That explanation sounded like nonsense to Robin. Robin said that Kristyn had never said anything about a Colorado trip. She knew about the music festival, which is actually in the opposite direction as Colorado would be. Robin said that she knew right away it wasn't true. When she went missing, she was all packed up to go to Rocklahoma. Robin's alarm bells are ringing. Something's wrong. Now, it is interesting to note that Kristyn's roommates have told 2 very different stories to different people, and it seems like that is a continuation. They floated the idea to the family that Kristyn spontaneously ran off to Colorado with some unknown woman, and then Carl is saying that when she was in Rocklahoma with him, she ran off, but with someone else there. So it is weird that there's an unidentified woman conveniently blamed for Kristyn not being where she's supposed to be in both stories. And again, with the cell phone pings, they knew the story that they told police was incorrect. Investigators believe that Kristyn never left her home area that night. Foul play is strongly suspected. The Muskogee Police later stated that they do not think she ever made it to the music festival. It doesn't seem like anybody floated the idea that she left her phone at home. I mean, we're in 2018.
Yeah,
so
and you
want the map.
you're right. You're going to want that to connect with people once you arrive. Because again, I strongly suspect that she was meeting people there that she would normally meet up with there when this is an annual event.
Right. Also, it is an hour and a half away. You're going to want to have your phone if something happens while you're driving.
Yeah, there's no reason. And this is to where if you truly had forgot it at home, you would turn around and go back. It's not like you're on this set schedule that you have to be on time for something. It's very much your own schedule.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting that the roommates continue living in her house.
Pretty brazen.
Again, yeah, if you did have something to do with it, why wouldn't you leave? Yes, brazen is a really good descriptive word. And just the fact that, again, you call somebody, hey, I'm 5 minutes from leaving the house. I'll be at your house in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes to come get the camper
that I need to sleep in for this weekend. Like, I'm not going without it.
You're calling to make sure that they're home, and 2, to give them the knowledge that you are truly on your way.
Yes.
And
they're calling you.
Yeah.
And
to
so
call
you
back
would just,
because now you're not showing up at the time that you probably told them you were. And again, text messaging exists. Like, I've totally said, hey, I'm on my way. And then again, gotten delayed. So then I'll text the person, say, okay, I'm actually now leaving. So now expect me in 10 minutes.
Totally.
Like, it's just common courtesy. especially when you're borrowing something from a friend and they're waiting around on you to come collect it.
Yes.
And it doesn't sound like she was rude as a standard operating behavior for her. Sounds like the fact that she's calling her friend that she's borrowing stuff from to say, I'm on my way, again, shows that she respects people's time and respects the fact that they're letting her borrow their items.
Right. And they did call her when she was supposed to show up and she never answered.
Right.
And so there's also that piece of it.
I wonder, which I know they would not divulge this, but I wonder if the police traced that call to show where the phone pinged.
I think it was at home.
Okay. Yeah.
After May 25th, 2018, there was no more phone calls, no social media activity. And importantly, Buddy, her dog, was at home without his owner. I'm not sure if she was planning on taking him to the festival.
I would suspect she would have, since other reporting said that the dog was always with her.
Right. And if you're sleeping if you're
camping, it's clearly animals are allowed.
The only thing I could say to that is if they did have fireworks or they had something like that and he was scared, she might not have taken him, but she absolutely would have arranged for somebody to watch him.
Well, yeah, that's if the roommates weren't going with her, then she would have them watch the dog because you're staying in my house as a courtesy.
Right.
But yes, or she would have had her sister watch the dog, or she would have had her nephew watch the dog. Clearly, she had options to have the dog taken care of while she went on a 3-day vacation.
For just a few days, exactly. We have several glaring signs that indicated that Kristyn did not just take off and go to Colorado, one being the dog. Another was that all of her personal essentials were found left behind at her house. Robin was adamant that her sister would never just up and leave everything important to her. So specifically the ashes that we mentioned, if she was leaving and never coming back, she would have taken them.
Yeah.
The dog, say you want to go with she just decided to go to Colorado, she would have taken her dog. She never would have just left him. Kristyn's phone and wallet, so her cell phone and her debit cards, were found at her house. Think about that. How many people go on a road trip or a weekend getaway?
And this is 2018. So yes, cash is still used, but it's still not used as prevalently as it was in the 90s.
True. I don't know if Apple Pay was quite everywhere yet, though.
Would have been.
You need that wallet.
Really, when it was COVID and COVID hasn't happened yet, that's when all things just went cashless.
Yeah, right.
So 2018, I would say cash was still fairly prevalent, but certainly not as much as it used to be. Mm-hmm. And I would think a rock festival is, again, you're there to make money. So you're going to have all options available.
Right.
To take credit cards, debit cards, and you're going to take cash. Exactly. Back in 2018.
They found that behind. She also had an Oklahoma Access card, which is a state benefits card, which is used like a debit card. She relied on that for purchases. That was also found in the home.
Yeah, there's her food money right there.
Exactly. All of it suggests that Kristyn never made a conscious decision to leave to Colorado, or if she was at the music festival, she would have had those things with her. Now, Kristyn's truck. So remember the bright red Toyota pickup she had prepared for the festival? It didn't vanish with her. In fact, that truck was later found still in the possession of one of her roommates. Authorities discovered the truck at the residence that Kristyn shared with her roommates. It turned out to be a stolen vehicle unrelated to Kristyn, which is confusing. There were reports that a stolen truck was found at Kristyn's address, which led to criminal charges for the roommates. And it's not entirely clear if the stolen truck was Kristyn's own Toyota that someone else had reported as stolen, like her roommates having stolen it, or if it was a different vehicle. The Bureau of Indian Affairs lists Kristyn's red Toyota pickup with a black and silver canopy as found in the possession of a person who may have something to do with her disappearance.
So that makes me think, yes, one of the roommates was driving it around.
Mm-hmm. And maybe her family reported it as stolen.
And either they were refusing to give it to the family.
That's the feeling that I
And so
get.
that's why they reported it stolen.
Yeah.
Or the police intervened because they need to investigate and use the truck as evidence.
Right.
And now they can't locate the truck because, again, a roommate is using it. I guess it would depend on the timing of all this and how it lines up. But that's what it feels like, is if I'm supposed to be at a festival, but my truck is still at my house and is now being used by someone else that was the last person to see. I mean, like, why are you driving her truck?
Right.
And I'm sure they were, well, she said I could. But again, she's supposed to be gone. So now you're saying that she ran off to Colorado with some random and left her truck for you? Like,
right.
Come on. And especially if she had never let them use her vehicle before. It's one thing that you allow people to live in your house, but it's a whole other that you're also allowing them to use your vehicle.
It feels like
that's friendly. I mean, that's
in and
kind of took over.
Yeah, exactly. Police hit Carl and Cody with charges related to the stolen vehicle that was found at the house during the investigation that's coming. This, it seems like, was one way to hold these men accountable for something, even if at that moment there wasn't enough evidence to charge them with harming Kristyn, or maybe to try to get information from them, or also, hopefully, to look for evidence. As the first week or two went by after that Memorial Day weekend, Kristyn's close circle grew increasingly frantic. They formed a group called Krash's Army, which was her friends and family united in the mission to find Kristyn, or, as they said, find out what happened to her. They plastered missing person flyers all around town, all over social media. They pleaded for anyone with information to come forward. Robin and her best friend Lynn, in particular, became the public faces of the search, giving interviews to media in hopes of keeping Kristyn's story alive in the public eye. However, one thing delayed the official investigation. Kristyn was not immediately reported missing to the police, perhaps due to the roommate's claims or initial confusion about her plans. I'm sure there's also the issue where police are going to tell them she could have gone off on her own. She could have decided to leave, especially when the people living with her are saying that's exactly what happened. The formal missing person report wasn't filed until July 6th, so about 6 weeks after she was last seen. That's a pretty significant delay. Those 6 weeks gave whoever was responsible for Kristyn's disappearance a huge head start to cover their tracks.
So we don't know why 6 weeks went by. I'm sure there was she's an adult, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And it could have been how police had handled other cases. And they have friends and family that are like, look, you need to try to find her first because they're not going to investigate.
Yeah. 6 weeks just seems like an awful long time.
I know.
When there was such specific plans.
Mm-hmm. And it could have.
And really, okay, so now Rocklahoma's over, but she's not showing back up again.
Right.
I'm assuming she had a job she needed to get back to. I know she's not leaving a dog unattended. And then the mother's ashes that she was like, no, I'm going to be buried with these. So it's.
Plus her phone and her wallet.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing without any of that? Well, and especially the wallet.
Yeah.
And your EBT card. What are you doing?
Right.
Nothing. You're not. There's no social media, no bank transactions.
Right. No calls, no texts.
Right. Like, I don't get why 6 weeks needed to go by. I could see 3 while we're waiting on this festival to end and allow somebody to show back up again.
Well, and
very odd.
The reporting shows that within a week or two, they were putting up missing person flyers and putting it out on social media and contacting news media outlets to try to get her story on the news.
So really, we're dealing with, she's a Native woman.
It sounds like it.
Not as important as anyone else's.
Mm-hmm. And they could have reached out to police and been told to wait or been told to do that. That's me trying to think of why you would be posting missing person flyers without contacting police. That's a hard disconnect for me, but I can see it. I
Yeah.
can see what they might have been hearing. In Kristyn's case, though, her family truly did not believe that she left by choice. That does lead me to believe that possibly they had tried to file one, or just new experiences from other people that had filed reports, what they were given, the answers, and went that way. But
yeah, I would like to know when they were charged with the possession of her car, because again, if the missing person is 6 weeks and you've been using her car this whole time, again, that's just really weird.
it wasn't until after the missing person report was filed.
So yeah, so you've been seen around town using her vehicle, which takes me back to, it's one thing to live in someone's house,
right?
but to live in their house and use their car, that's a stretch.
I mean,
especially for adults. It's not like you're taking in a child or even a 16-year-old sibling, family member. I can see letting that person use your vehicle so that you're not schlepping them around. But if you're just
grown adults
that you're, okay, I'm going to help you by letting you stay at my house.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe because I'm just not as nice.
No,
I'm like, you're not using my car too.
No, we had someone stay with us when we were first married, but it was because we had a basement that had space, you know, and it was someone renting, but never shared cars.
No, I've had
Yeah.
family stay with me to help. And granted, they had their own vehicle, but I never.
There was no sharing.
No, I'm like, no, I need my car. So if they would have asked, and we're talking, this is a close family, if they would have asked to use my car, I would have said no. If you're not under my insurance, absolutely not. Like I've drilled that into my kids. No one gets to drive your car but you, because if they wreck it and they don't have insurance, you don't have a car anymore.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm like, no one gets to drive your car but you.
Yeah.
Because I remember I had an 83 Sentra in the early 90s. So it wasn't like I was driving a Rolls Royce, and I wouldn't let anyone drive it. And people used to make, like college, they would make fun of me. They're like, you don't let any, I'm like, absolutely not. This is my only means of transportation. I can't afford to buy another one. No, you're not driving my 83 Sentra hatchback piece of crap car, because I don't trust you.
Yeah, I can't think of a time.
And yet my friend who had a brand new 93 Chrysler LeBaron convertible, and what happened? 2 different people wrecked it.
Oh, shoot.
And then she didn't have a car anymore. I was like, and you wonder why I take care of my 83 beater? That's why.
Yep. I still need that mode of transportation no matter what.
Yeah. She let kids go on a food run and they like crashed it into a pole.
Oh.
Like, I mean, it was still drivable, but now it has a huge, like you have this brand new, beautiful, you may not remember, the Chrysler LeBarons were like the car to have. And she's got a big old dent in it now. And then a few months later, somebody else wrecks it. So she didn't even wreck her own car. It was quote unquote friends. She just let anyone take her car. I'm like, nope.
That's a different reasoning to me.
For sure. She was definitely more wanted people to like her.
There
and
you
I
go.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
And I didn't care.
For Kristyn, her sister Robin filed the missing person report officially on July 6th, and Muskogee Police Department officially began investigating. The case immediately did raise red flags with detectives. They said, here's a woman who had vanished under highly suspicious circumstances, and they believed foul play was likely from the get-go. So to me also, if they feel that way, I don't know if it's because it has been 6 weeks or what happened in the interim between May 25th and July 6th. But the first people that police turned to were her roommates. They found the roommates' versions of accounts fishy. Investigator Stephen Brown, who was not related to Robin Brown, which is Kristyn's sister, publicly expressed doubt about the information the roommates had provided. He left in a friend's car, they had told police, implying that she had departed willingly with someone. The detectives said that they have reason to believe the information that they received is not accurate. In polite police terms, that means we think they're lying. Detective.
Clearly.
Yeah. The Muskogee PD realized that this could be a complex case, so they enlisted help. Multiple agencies became involved in the search for Kristyn and the investigation of her disappearance. I believe that this included the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations and federal authorities later on, especially given that Kristyn's Native American, so the FBI and or Bureau of Indian Affairs could provide assistance. But the reporting is pretty sparse on this one, and some of the things are said in one report but are said differently in another report. So we will list all of those things for you to look at. But I'm pulling together based on what I saw the most and the most consistently throughout. On July 21st, so now 2 months after she's last been seen and 2 weeks after the missing report was filed, police executed a search warrant at Kristyn's home. The scene that day was tense. Officers arrived to scour the property for any signs of Kristyn. To their surprise, Carl was found inside the house and he was not willing to cooperate. He barricaded himself or refused to come out, which did result in a brief standoff with police. And that feels very ominous, or not sure what the word is, foreshadowing maybe.
Yeah, I would say foreshadowing, the fact that he barricaded himself in the house when they're coming to.
Yeah, with a warrant.
With a search warrant.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it's not even his house.
Right.
You're not on the deed. You're not the property owner. I know why they got a search warrant, but I would think they wouldn't even need one since they can't locate the owner of the house.
True. It doesn't feel like the behavior of an innocent man eager to help this person who was kind enough to let him live in her home.
Although, again, thinking of another case and I don't know if this might be different by state, but police did have a search warrant, or no, they didn't have a search warrant. The owner of the property allowed them in, but there was 2 bedrooms that were being used by other people. And so they couldn't search without the search warrant, they couldn't search those, even though the homeowner couldn't give permission. They said they could only do the common areas and then the homeowner's bedroom.
Yeah, because that's like their personal space.
Yeah, well, that's without the search warrant. Now, granted, I wonder if there's different laws for different states, but so that could be why they still needed the search warrant, because even though the homeowner is the one that's missing, it's still, that's going down too much of a legal thing for me, but I just thought about that. So that's probably why, I mean, that's when they had the search warrant, but the fact that he's up in arms about the house being searched when you're 6 weeks, 8 weeks in now and the homeowner is still missing and you don't even own the place is wild.
It is. And part of me wonders too if they were trying to dot their I's and cross their T's just in case they found something
they
would use in trial.
Yeah, because I think that's what that's because I know, again, this show I just watched, they did go back with a search warrant so that they could, because in this specific case, they were looking for a child.
Oh, I saw that one.
Had they
got in the first time,
they found her still alive. But because they didn't, and they couldn't search that particular bedroom, which the perpetrator was not home at the time, he ended up killing the child.
Yeah.
And so the law enforcement was devastated that they were that close to.
Yeah.
But it was
she was in the closet, right?
In the closet, and also right across the street from her own house. So even like her dad is just ripped, like gutted that like my child was literally across 100 yards away. Yeah. I didn't know. And the crazy thing was the perpetrator had the TV going with her missing, like her search. So she was watching TV coverage of her own. And I mean, she was, I want to say 8. So enough that she probably is confused, but at the same time understands. Plus you're watching TV coverage of them saying, we're looking for a missing child, blah, blah, blah. So yeah.
Oh, so horrific. At Kristyn's house, eventually officers were able to resolve this kind of standoff. They took Carl into custody temporarily Cody was also detained around this time. The two were held on material witness warrants, meaning authorities believed they had crucial information about Kristyn's disappearance, and they wanted to make sure that they couldn't flee. With Carl removed from the property, police conducted an extensive search of the house and the yard. What they found is both intriguing and so frustrating. In the northwest corner of the backyard, officers noticed a pile of dirt that looked out of place, almost as if something had been buried or dug up. Even more alarming, they reported detecting the odor of decomp in that area. And I'm not sure if they had cadaver dogs. Some of the reporting said that they had cadaver dogs. Some said that it was investigators' own experience that alerted them. But either way, the smell unmistakably was associated with human decomp.
I've watched enough shows where the law enforcement is like, the smell is unmistakable. You know what it is. So I could easily see or believe that it was their own, which would hopefully prompt them to bring in cadaver dogs. But
that they might not even need that.
Right.
If they're seeing the pile.
Yeah, that's odd. A pile of disturbed dirt that smells funny. Yeah, that's kind of telling.
Yeah, so they thought that they might have found where Kristyn's body had been hidden. Police brought in shovels, and they did begin to dig in the backyard on July 21st. They dug, they shifted through dirt, they went through tree roots, debris. I'm sure neighbors watching were hoping for answers, but dreading what might be found. Despite this lead, though, the search turned up nothing. No human remains were found on the property. It was as if whatever had caused that smell was gone. And to me, I can imagine that if they had buried her there and then they found out the official missing person report was filed, because it is a small area.
Yeah.
Small town, probably had police looking around, asking questions. They could have moved her recently.
Mm-hmm.
Even without a body, what police had gathered by late July was enough to convince them that a murder had occurred. And I don't know exactly what else they found because this case is still open and I can't get all of case files, things like that.
Yeah.
But whatever they found was convincing. In an unusual legal maneuver on the same day as the house search, first-degree murder charges were filed against a, quote, John Doe suspect in Kristyn's case. Have you ever heard of that happening? I have not heard of this.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Again, I think it might be specific to a state. Like it might have different names elsewhere, but I have heard of them being able to charge unknown. I don't know why it matters. It must just be the way that specific state does it, though. Because it seems like you can still have an inkling, but it's almost like it helps preserve something, or maybe it allows them to continue investigating. I don't know the reasoning why, but I have heard of it.
Essentially, prosecutors charged an unknown person with Kristyn's murder. So, for the reasons Shannon said, also likely they had substantial evidence that Kristyn was killed, either maybe an informant tip, which we'll come back to, but not enough to positively identify and arrest the killer. By filing a John Doe murder charge, they formally acknowledged the case as a homicide, which, like Shannon said, spot on, can sometimes help with obtaining further warrants or keeping pressure on suspects. It's kind of like a legal placeholder.
Yeah, it's almost like, because sometimes, again, you jump the gun and charge somebody and then evidence comes out later that it wasn't them, but now this person's life is completely ruined. I think it's probably state specific, but at least this allows the charges without necessarily naming somebody who may or may not, because we've got two people here.
Right.
Maybe one is more culpable than the other. Maybe the other one of them really doesn't know what happened. They're, again, either just wrong place, wrong time. Maybe, again, you are wanting to pit one against the other, see who flips first.
Oh, yeah.
So even though you may have some not guilt, but you played a role, maybe this is, again, a way to get the charges brought against the other person because now you're cooperating.
True.
So I think it serves a multitude of purposes that we can all just speculate on.
Right. Until actually it's resolved, which, spoiler, it is still not resolved. And this was July 2018. We're 7.5 years past this. Police basically saying, we know a crime was committed. We're just not ready to name who committed the crime.
Yeah.
To this day, the identity of the John Doe suspect has never been publicly revealed. But
I think they probably need one of them to come forward first, which will probably still implicate them in the crime.
Right.
But again, now you turn into a cooperating witness, which would still result in charges, but at the same time, give you a much better, because this feels very first degree.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Because now I'm wondering, like, she told them to leave and was giving them the break of, I'm going to be gone for 3 days and I need you guys to be gone.
Oh, very possible.
Yeah, it's very interesting that she's planning to go away for 3 days, but then never even leaves the house, which makes me, now as my wheels are turning, I'm wondering if she's asked them to move out and giving them the space to do that while she's gone, and then expecting to come home to them not being there. And they were like, no.
Right. We'd rather just live in your house rent free.
Right. That, or one of them was trying to date her. I would be curious to know their criminal histories. But I'm wondering if one of them tried to date her and she wasn't interested and they got mad. I feel like it's more she asked them to leave the house, though.
It is weird that they kept throwing out that she left with a woman.
Yes.
That feels like you said,
like,
a little bit man-scorned. Like,
exactly. Oh, I can, especially if she was LGBTQA, which we don't know, but let's say she was. It's just interesting that they chose, because normally you would say, oh, she left with a man.
Right.
So that's why I'm thinking they knew either she was LGBTQA plus, and so they knew to say a woman, and or like some men do, oh, I can turn you. And again, was rejected. And some men do not handle rejection well.
Also true.
Yeah. I'm now leaning more towards that she's asked them to move out.
Yeah. That one makes a lot of sense.
Actually, both scenarios make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, interesting that
they continue living there.
Right. Well, it's just the fact that you get rejected and then ask them. I mean, it's right around the time you're planning to leave. That's why I'm leaning more towards she's asked them to move out. Here's the 3 days I'm going to be gone. Please don't be here when I get back. Again, to helping maybe simmer some tensions. Like maybe she knew that her asking them to move out was not going to be received well. I don't know.
Right. Maybe she was saying that as she was leaving.
It's just such an odd, like you're literally calling a friend, hey, I'm on my way. Coming to get the tent and items from you.
They might not have known that.
I'm assuming they didn't.
Yeah. They maybe thought she had everything.
The fact that she was that close to leaving to then never actually leave. Yeah.
Ugh, heartbreaking.
Which now we go to second degree.
I mean,
if you've asked them to move out and not be, I don't know.
But also it could have been an ask as she's about to leave, but they knew it was coming and then, that was their plan whenever she asked.
Or just being unhelpful the entire time. This person that's opened their home to you, you're not being helpful with their family members. You're not being forthcoming. You're making up stories that don't add up.
Right. Different stories to different people. Part of the evidence that police point to, like we mentioned, her phone never left Muskogee on May 25th. Right away, police checked Kristyn's phone records. They saw that after a certain time that day, there were no outgoing calls, texts, or social media posts from her, which was unusual for her normal phone usage, also unusual for someone about to go away for the weekend. And in contrast, it's possible from some of the reporting that the roommates' phones or movements showed inconsistencies. That's rumored, but their data has never been publicly detailed. Investigators discovered that Carl had used Kristyn's Oklahoma access card, which her EBT card. Yep. After her disappearance, Now, one report indicates the last transaction on that card was on May 15th and that it was Carl who made the purchase.
Which tells me they have him on camera.
Yes. And also, I'm curious if they were maybe stealing from her, or maybe she said, take it and go get what we need.
But again, if that's what she uses for her food, she would be taking that with her on her trip. That's her card.
Absolutely. Yep. I do believe that Carl had his own card, but I could be wrong. Reporting finds it very odd that he was using it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. After May 25th, any use of that card by Carl would indicate that he knew she wouldn't be around to object. But there isn't reporting or records available to show if it was used after that date. We just know that he used it before. Both Carl and Cody were found to have sold or given away some of Kristyn's personal belongings in the weeks after she was last seen.
I mean,
come on.
What is it you said earlier? Brazenness?
Mm-hmm.
That's brazen.
That is brazen. You're now making money off of her things
that don't belong to you. So you're selling stolen property.
Exactly. And you want to say that she went off to Colorado, that story would only make sense if she was coming back. So then you wouldn't be selling her stuff.
Now knowing all this tells me that's why there's a John Doe. Mm-hmm. It's because they need one of them to flip first. And they're just waiting on who is it going to be.
It's got to be infuriating for her family to wait this long.
Yeah,
and they're still waiting.
It's becoming crystal clear.
Yeah. Perhaps one of the most chilling pieces of information came from a tipster. An informant described as, quote, someone close to the case, told detectives that Cody had confessed or bragged to people that he was involved in Kristyn's death. More specifically, according to this tip, Cody said that Carl had stabbed Kristyn to death. Essentially, the story, as it was relayed secondhand, was that Cody was implicating Carl as the killer. We don't know the full context, whether Cody was blaming Carl to make himself look less culpable, or if he was accurately describing what had happened. Police took this very seriously.
Oh, yeah. I would love to know if they have any other criminal history, because I think that would then lead you down the path as who is more likely to have done this. But yes, it's just really beginning to feel like she's asked them to move out and they were like, no.
They have some criminal history.
I would think so. Because why else do you need help getting on your feet?
Mm-hmm.
Why else are you using her vehicle and selling her things? That's criminal behavior.
It is.
Because it just shows lack of caring about your supposed friend.
It's awful. Armed with all of this, and I'm sure more that they haven't put out, Muskogee Police pressed forward. They now had cooperating agencies. They had executed the search warrant. They had Carl and Cody in custody, albeit on unrelated charges initially. They were briefly held as material witnesses, but that status doesn't allow for indefinite detention. So law enforcement used another approach. They charged the men with possession of a stolen vehicle. The charge related to the truck found at Kristyn's residence, which we believe is Kristyn's truck based on everything available. They kept the men tied up in legal proceedings and for some time behind bars, which helped investigators have more time to work the case. As time went by, however, the momentum slowed without a body or direct physical evidence of a crime, like an obvious bloodstain or DNA evidence or something concrete. Building their murder case was challenging. The John Doe murder charge remained on the books, but no one could be prosecuted under it until a suspect was identified and evidence solidified. Carl and Cody eventually had to be released from custody on the witness holds, but they still faced the other charges. In 2019, Cody pleaded guilty to the stolen vehicle charge. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Carl's case over the stolen truck dragged on. In 2020, it was still pending resolution in courts. So essentially, one roommate went to prison for a while on the theft-related charge. The other was out on bond or entangled in other legal issues. It's unclear. And then COVID came. That delayed everything.
Delays everything.
Yeah. Neither was charged with Kristyn's disappearance or murder in that time.
I think this is very much a case of unless they find, well, and even if they find her, you're going to have one flip on the other.
Mm-hmm. Or find a murder weapon or find some kind of digital evidence or...
Oh, I'm sure they have that, which isn't released. Short of a text that says, yes, I killed her, like that, which I don't think there's going to be that blatant of information, but I feel like this is going to be one that either one of them is going to get into trouble again.
Right.
And they need to cooperate in order to get that sentence reduced because whoever flips first is who gets the deal.
Right. And it is curious that they haven't yet.
Yeah, because I'm seeing that Cody pleads guilty to the stolen vehicle, gets 5 years, which seems like a lot for a stolen vehicle.
I had the same thought.
But okay, not complaining.
And it could be if he was on probation.
Yeah, well, true.
Yeah.
But then so quick to plead, and then the other one, Carl, is like,
no.
And that's also very interesting the way they're handling their situations, similar situations differently.
Yeah. I mean, essentially the same situation. They're both held as material witnesses.
Yeah.
And charged with stealing her trucks.
Yeah.
By the 2-year anniversary of Kristyn's disappearance in May, the case, it seems, had grown cold, at least in terms of public updates. A local Muskogee newspaper noted that 2 years had passed with no, quote, significant leads, and that while Carl and Cody had been persons of interest and charged for the stolen truck, so far no further charges had materialized. The Muskogee Police Department insisted that the investigation was still active, but they were at a standstill without new information. Officer Lincoln Andrew, who was the spokesperson for the Muskogee PD, spoke frankly about their frustration. He said that right now investigators have exhausted every lead we've been given. A few months after Kristyn vanished, they were at a point where they have to get somebody who's going to give them some credible information that they can pursue, essentially a public plea. Law enforcement needed a tip or a witness beyond these two unreliable roommates, if we want to call them that. They had the persons of interest, which is Carl and
means
Cody.
Nothing,
yeah. But without saying that, they didn't have anyone strong enough to call a suspect.
Which is just legal jargon. I would agree with that, which is why they did the John Doe warrant.
We think we know who did it, but we don't have enough proof, right?
Yes, to take them to court.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they either need a body that they can say this is how this person died and then formulate a scenario, other people that know them to talk that can say, oh yeah, no, she was planning to kick them out. Like maybe they did. They just need one of them to flip. Because I bet right now they can't say which one of them definitively did it. They just know that they were both involved. And so one of them needs to flip.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think they can even say how they did it or...
No, not now. Not until they find her.
Right.
Which is interesting because can they trace their whereabouts in the 6 to 8 weeks from missing to... I would love to know their reasoning for selling her belongings. Did they answer those questions? Why did they feel... And that's where we don't know if she did let them borrow her truck on occasion. So, okay, maybe them driving around in it isn't too far-fetched, but I'm going to feel like she didn't.
Agreed.
And especially, I want to know how soon they were driving around in it. Was it the weekend she's supposed to be gone? Like, again, brazen.
Yes.
Brazen.
Or was it 2 weeks after and trying to make it look like it was sitting here, so I drove it so the battery wouldn't die? I don't know. I get the feeling it was right away, but
that's what I think too. If you're brazenly selling her belongings 2 weeks after her disappearance, like you're driving that truck knowing she's not coming back for it.
Yeah, exactly. In November 2019, authorities executed a search warrant on a county property, which was in a rural area, looking for human remains. They didn't say specifically that it was related to Kristyn's case. There's connections that were shared in the media, like a story that her body had been moved there following them.
The media actually said that.
Yes and no.
Okay. Surmising?
Yes.
Okay.
Without saying definitively we know X, Y, and Z.
The law enforcement or just the media?
The media.
Okay.
But police did do the search warrant, but it could have been related to another case.
Yeah.
But local news were saying that it was related to Kristyn's case.
Okay. Which maybe somebody in law enforcement fed them that tidbit. Because it's one thing just to say, even as much as the media will do, I don't think they would publicly say that, especially knowing how it can be for the family if they didn't get that information from a source that probably couldn't speak on record.
Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like. Kristyn's friends and family have worked hard to make sure her case doesn't fade away. Her sister created the Finding Robin Richardson Facebook page to spread awareness and gather information from the community. They have organized search parties and vigils. They try to keep her face and name in the public eye around Muskogee. They also raised money for a reward fund, hoping that it might incentivize someone with knowledge to open up and talk to investigators. In small communities, we know rumors often swirl and someone often knows something.
Do these two roommates still live in the area? Do you know? Did they leave or did they stay? I would be curious about that too.
I believe they still live there.
Okay, yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
Again, brazen.
Mm-hmm.
That's our word of the day. Brazen.
It is our word of the day. I like that word, but I don't like who we're using it to talk about.
No. Yeah, brazen should be in a positive.
Yes.
Not in a
I'm
vindictive
just out here. Yeah,
form.
Exactly. The family has really hoped that either guilt or greed can crack somebody. And this, like we mentioned a minute ago, is where we say even the smallest tip can help investigators.
See, yeah, greed would work on these two, but then they're implicating themselves. So it's like...
Yeah, it's got to be one of their acquaintances that works on. Like Shannon mentioned, somebody coming forward and saying she had asked them to move out, or someone that had talked to Kristyn saying, we know she wanted them out and she was giving them the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a conversation that you might not think matters, but
it does
be really helpful in this case.
Yeah.
Lynn, her best friend, said, I believe somebody knows what happened, and I believe there are people out there that know where she is. And her belief is shared by police. Investigator Stephen Brown echoed that sentiment 5 years into the case, so in 2023, saying, we believe that she is unfortunately probably deceased, and we believe that there are people that have information out there. We just need them to come forward.
Yeah.
It's a maddening situation. Both the family and law enforcement strongly suspect that multiple people know the truth about what happened to Kristyn, but no one has provided the actionable evidence or testimony that they need to resolve the case.
Okay, so that's implying even more than just the two roommates. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if they're saying that someone outside of the two roommates did it or just that these two talk.
I don't know. If, again, you're selling the belongings to a person who's now missing, I would think anybody with common sense would think that was kind of odd.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it's not yours to sell.
No, which if I were her family and there were things that were important to her that I wanted and these two just went out and sold it.
The mom's ashes out of the house.
So ugh, it'd be awful.
And I hope Buddy found a home. That somebody took the dog.
Her sister did take the dog.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes. As of today, we're coming up on 8 years since Kristyn vanished.
Wow.
Her family knows that she likely isn't alive. anymore. And they use the word murdered openly when talking about Kristyn, even if law enforcement has yet to officially designate her as anything other than a missing person, which, I mean, with the John Doe homicide.
That just could be and that could just be the state as well. You can't, until there's a body, you can't say homicide.
True.
Some states still have that rule in effect that there's no homicide without a body, even though it's very clear.
Right.
The signs point elsewhere.
Yeah. Robin continues to fight for answers. She's often spoken about the pain of not knowing and the desperation to find closure. She wants answers. She wants to see somebody prosecuted. Robin has had to go on with life with this huge weight on her shoulders, taking care of Kristyn's affairs. She did take in Buddy and keeping her promise to safeguard her mother's ashes. And now with the haunting knowledge that Kristyn, maybe her own ashes, should be able to go in there.
Yeah, that was the plan. And now she can't even fulfill that wish.
Mm-hmm. One factor that advocates stress is that because there has been no recovery of Kristyn's body, it's never too late for someone to come forward. Cases have been solved years or decades later when someone finally feels safe enough or possibly guilty enough to speak. Perhaps a former friend of the roommates, a relative, a cellmate could recall something that was said. Cody, for instance, allegedly told more than one person about his involvement. Maybe one of those people will decide to cooperate officially. Carl might have confided in someone, or someone might have seen or heard something odd around Kristyn's house that night, maybe not realize its importance. All it takes is one solid tip to break this case open. From law enforcement side, the case remains open and active. They continue to follow any new leads. Local media did run a cold case file segment on Kristyn's disappearance in 2023, which was the 5-year anniversary of when she went missing. It really does show how frustrated investigators are that they haven't been able to bring closure to Kristyn's family. They've interviewed dozens of people, they've tested evidence, but the district attorney just does not have enough to file formal charges against any specific person. And this is the crux of it. Everyone suspects who did it, but suspicion isn't enough in court. They need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. They need possibly to find her body or something that can conclusively tie whatever happened to her to some sort of cause of death or a perpetrator. It was unusual to file that John Doe murder charge so early on, which signaled that they are willing and waiting to prosecute if given the chance, but until there's a breakthrough, that charge just sits dormant. What we do know is that neither Carl nor Cody have ever publicly attempted to clear their name, and they've never publicly tried to help find Kristyn, which speaks volumes. There's so many things that they have done that speaks volumes, and it's got to be just so infuriating that they've managed to get away with it for this long, especially to her family, if it was indeed them, which I'm not saying it is, because they have not been charged. Investigators hope that someone will break their silence. They hope that maybe advances in forensic technology could make seemingly insignificant clues become key evidence. And they hope, above all, that Kristyn will be found and brought home so that her loved ones can lay her to rest with dignity, fulfilling the promise of uniting her and her mother's ashes. The Muskogee Police Department continues to ask that anyone with information about Kristyn's disappearance or death contact them at 918-683-8000. Tips can also be submitted through the Bureau of Indian Affairs Missing and Murdered Unit, and you can do this anonymously. After all this time, the truth is overdue. Thank you so much for listening to Kristyn's story. As always, if you know something, if you heard something, nothing is too small. Someone somewhere knows something. And even if you do not know anything, share Kristyn's story, learn more about what happened, share it with someone that lives in the area, anything to help keep her memory alive and the call for justice loud. I really do hope that one day we can do an update on this story with answers, maybe some measure of justice for Kristyn and her family. We will link the phone number to contact authorities in the show notes. Do you have anything else, Shannon? It's a sad one.
It really is.
She seemed like such a beautiful, fun person.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, she was living life to her fullest. Yeah. She was kind and letting people stay in her home. It just is so sad that we still don't know exactly what happened.
Or at least legally.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Vanished Voices. We're grateful you've chosen to spend your time with us as we bring attention to these stories that too often go unheard. If you'd like to learn more about the resources and sources we used in today's episode, visit our blog, linked through our website at vanishedvoicespodcast.com. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search for the Vanished Voices pod. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and reflections, and to continue building this community with you. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and share the podcast. Your support not only helps us reach more listeners, but it also helps amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves. You can find Vanished Voices on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.